Hey guys, so today I'm going to be talking about the components of the digestive system and the alimentary canals. So right here is a diagram of what we're going to be looking at. We're mainly going to be looking at the main parts of the digestive system. So let's get started. So let's start off with the digestive system organs, the alimentary canal organs, which are meant to nourish our bodies. As you can see, the main function is to nourish the body. We'll be looking at the mouth, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, and small and large intestines mainly, and the anus to fit the functional needs of the body. So this is the main thing we'll be talking about. I don't think we're going to be going to the accessory structures, but for now we are definitely going to be talking about the main organs of the digestive system. So let's start off with the histology of the alimentary canals. The mucosa, submucosa, muscularis, and serosa are part of the alimentary canals and then the histology of it. So let's start off with the mucosa. The mucosa secretes mucus, digestive enzymes, mucosa's over here, and hormones. It absorbs and ends products of digestion, protects against infectious diseases, has three sublayers: the epithelium, lamina propria, and the muscularis mucosa. The epithelium is a simple columnar epithelium and mucus-secreting cells. The lamina propria is a loose areolar connective tissue, and the capillaries for nourishment and absorption. The lymphoid follicles and the mucosa associate is the lymphoid tissue. And the muscularis mucosae is a smooth muscle and produces local movement of the mucosa. So that's a histology of the mucosa. Then we go to the submucosa, which is right over here, and it's a dense connective tissue, and the blood lymphatic vessels, it contains those, and the lymphoid follicles and the submucosal nerve plexus. So when we look at since we saw those two, we're going to be looking at the muscularis and serosa. Muscularis externa is responsible for the segmentation of the peristalsis, inner, circular, and outer longitudinal layers. The myenteric nerve plexus is part of here, and the sphincters in some regions. The serosa is a layer of visceral peritoneum overlying a layer of loose connective tissue. Now let's check out the nerve supply of the alimentary canal. So as you can see here, the enteric nervous system, right here, it contains the myenteric plexus, which lies in the muscularis layers and responsible for motility. And then it creates a rhythm and force of the contractions of the muscularis. So when you have contraction when you eat. And then when you have the submucosal plexus, which lies in the submucosal layer and is responsible for regulating digestive secretions and reacting to the presence of food. So of course, when it comes to the blood supply relating to the digestive system, there are two functions. The first is a transport protein and carbohydrate, nutrients, and lipids are absorbed by lacteals. Second is to supply the organs with the nutrients and oxygen. And then we see that the celiac trunk services the liver, stomach, and duodenum, whereas the superior and the inferior mesenteric arteries. We see that, and it supplies blood to the remaining small and large intestines. The hepatic portal system, where veins that collect nutrients, again nutrients, that's the main part, rich blood from the small intestines, where most absorptions occur, empty. The resting and digestion and 1/4 of the blood will be pumped each heartbeat. With each heartbeat enters arteries serving the intestine. So you can see blood supply plays a huge part of our digestive system. A huge section of our digestive system is the peritoneum, right over here, which lies on right over here. As you can see, the peritoneum has two different regions. The peritoneum, it lines of the abdominal wall. Then we can see the visceral peritoneum, which envelopes the abdominal organs. Then we see the peritoneal cavity. Sorry, this is the visceral peritoneum, but the peritoneal cavity is a space bounded by visceral and peritoneal surfaces, right over here. So now, since we saw the peritoneum, we're going to be looking the process of peristalsis. So peristalsis, when you eat, it moves through the digestive tract with alternating waves of muscles contracting and relaxation. So this is how your food goes down your body, going down your body. That's the process of the food going down, and that just shows our digestive process. So the digestive process contain the ingestion, impulsion, the mechanical digestion, the chemical digestion, and the absorption, and then it leads to defecation. So we can see propulsion starts with the swallowing right over here, and then it leads to the peristalsis, which goes down right here into the esophagus, then to the stomach, then to the small intestine, then it goes all the way down to the large intestine. And as you know, chemical digestion goes through the small intestine mainly, and then we see the mechanical digestion, where the chewing of the mouth when you're eating and breaking down your food, and your stomach, which we'll get into right here, churning down and breaking down the food even more. Then it leads to segmentation, going down to your small intestine, and of course, eating that will also lead to absorption, with the small intestine absorbing all that nutrients and water to your blood vessels and lymph vessels. And then also the large intestine will have absorption from the water to the blood vessels that you contain when you eat or drink something. And of course, it all leads to making into feces and leading into your anus, which leads to you going to the bathroom and making your defecate. So as we can see with the mouth, we can see various parts and components that are needed, and that we see that the mouth plays a huge part eating and breaking down food in order to start your digestive process. Then while you're eating, you also have to use your tongue, which helps to reposition food between teeth and mixes food with saliva, also known as bolus. It contains taste buds right over here, all the taste buds all around, and the intrinsic muscles, which is to change the shape of the tongue when you move around your tongue when you're eating, and the intrinsic muscles, which change the position of your tongue, again, easier for you to eat and to break down your food. So some parts of your tongue, like the fungiform papillae, is a mushroom shape, and it contains taste buds, so tasting your food. And then it leads to the filiform papillae, which is the touch receptors and help your tongue move around the food to again break it down and just move it around. And then it creates an abrasive surface that performs mechanically. So this whole mechanical process of using your tongue when you're breaking down and eating food. Then we check out the salivary glands. It initiates and breakdowns your carbohydrates in your food when you're eating, part of the digestive system. So then another part of the digestive system when you're at the top process of eating your food is of course using your teeth. And you can see there's 32 permanent teeth, and it appears between the 6 and 12-year-olds, and it replaces by baby teeth. As you can see, here's a little diagram to show the months it'll take you to grow your beginning stages of your teeth. But as you grow, you will have your cuspids or canines for tearing and gripping food, your premolars and your molars for grinding your food. As you can see, here is the anatomy of the tooth. You see your gums, all those good stuff. The annoying tooth, the gingiva is commonly called for gums. It lines the alveolar process and surround the necks of the teeth. The periodontal ligament holds their teeth socket right over here. And then there's the crown, which is projected above the gum line right over here. And then you see the root, of course, and is embedded with maxilla and mandible. Then we can see the pharynx, which is basically your throat, and it's the posterior to the nasal cavity right here, which is the nasopharynx. The oropharynx, it begins inferior to the nasopharynx, and you can see right here the process and all those parts relating to the throat, which then leads to, of course, the esophagus. The esophagus is a muscular tube that connects to the pharynx to the stomach, and some parts of it is the upper esophageal sphincter, which is continuous with the pharyngeal constructor, and it controls the movement of the pharynx into the esophagus. So that's, the movement across from the pharynx to the esophagus, so then it moves there. Then you see the lower esophageal sphincter, which means that then it leads to the food that passes the esophagus to the stomach. So you can also see the process of the lower esophageal sphincter, because it moves down right here, and the upper, it just moves down from your esophagus. And when you can see the esophagus move down your food going down your esophagus, it will of course lead to the stomach. And this is what the stomach looks like. And the stomach has two curvatures, which is lesser and greater, right here. Lesser, as you can see, right over here. And then you can see all the part of the stomach right over here. And then you can see the pyloric antrum, which is the wider end of the funnel. And you can see the funnels and how each part of the stomach shows and breaks down your food. The muscularis, of course, is a circular, longitudinal, and oblique, which allows to churn your food, break down, churn it, move it around. And then the rugate is visible in the absence of food. And yeah, as you can see that too. As you know, the stomach could explain a lot. Here's a local person from the Bay Area, Joey Chestnut, a professional eater. Then from the stomach, we see the small intestine. From the stomach, we go to the small intestine. And the small intestine, it just, again, breaks down the food, then it goes down. The pyloric valve will be closing, and then the pyloric valve will be closed again, and then later we see some of the the pyloric valve that's slightly open between the stomach right here going to your small intestine. So you can see the small intestine is divided into 4 segments, which is superior, descending, horizontal, and ascending duodenum. And then we see the main pancreatic duct, through which pancreatic juice passes through the pancreas, and then the major duodenal papilla, and then later we see the hepatopancreatic sphincter regulates the flow. Segmentation, which separates the chyme, then pushes it back together, mixing, providing time for digestion and absorption. So we see them split apart, mixed together, fully mixing together, providing digestion and absorption. From the small intestine, we'll of course go to the large intestine, which is that the primary function of the organ is to finish absorption of nutrients and waters, synthesizing certain vitamins, form feces, and eliminate feces also right here as well, which is subdivided in 4 main regions: the cecum, the colon, and the rectum of the anus. So this structure is the final process of the digestive system, which leads to getting all the nutrients in the end. And those are the main parts of the digestive system. Thank you so much. Bye.